Hey everyone, so last night I competed in a Twitch tournament called the Worldwide Major. It was hosted by SunkenCity, a well-known Twitch streamer in the Geoguessr community, and it featured myself along with It's RC, Simi, and Geography challenges. It was a very intense battle. They are top tier players, so yeah, very competitive, very fun, and so basically how this tournament works is you have 30 minutes to play 5 maps. The maps are Diverse World, North America, South America, Asia, and Europe, all by mapper. You have 30 minutes to play no move, and essentially it's a race to get the highest combined score on those maps, so you can replay each of those maps as many times as you want. You can only submit the last score you played on each of those maps. There's a very interesting strategy involved in this kind of tournament, and I think I did pretty well in the end. So this is a tournament from my perspective. This is going to be essentially a post-game commentary, so let's begin. So I decided to start off with a diverse world. Thought it'd be better to start off with the easiest maps and then finish on the harder maps. So yeah, this is Thailand. You've got a concrete road. You've got these typical kind of wooden stilt houses, which are common in northern Thailand. And I decided to guess further west because of the hill, and it ends up being pretty close, 4.5k. And second round is Japan, and yeah, low cam, Japanese poles, and it feels like fairly generic Japan, not too tropical, not too cold either, so I hedge somewhere in the middle, somewhere near Tokyo in the end, I think. And yeah, just looking around a little bit more, and I make my guess in Gunma. And it ends up being a bit further west in Kyoto, so not too bad. And this is Poland. We've got Polish language there with a W. And we've got these kind of industrial brick buildings, which remind me more of kind of northwestern Poland a bit. I feel like you see a lot of similar buildings around Gdansk and Szczecin and stuff. So I guess in kind of northern Poland, and I get a super good score here. I'm super happy about that. Yeah, I guess there. Good plonk. So super chuffed about how close that was. Only 21 kilometers in Poland is super good. And we have round 4, which is a Florida round. We've got the state outline on that sign. So it's just a case of looking for these row numbers. So I look for the 98 first, and I quickly spot that. So now I look along the 98 to find the 710 and the 70 to try and 5k this. So I look along the 98, quickly spot the 710 there, and quickly also spot the 70 in that town, and I get a easy 5k. So very good round there. And this is round 5, and this should be Norway. We've got these Scandinavian looking houses. These houses over there remind me a lot of the Bergen area. It also feels fairly southern. It's quite green. We've got a lot of trees. Yeah, we've also got a cruise ship, so we're probably on a kind of river going out to the coast or something. Yeah, just looking around a little bit more, I think I look for some language like on that boat to see if I can spot anything useful, but nothing particularly useful here. And I end up plonking somewhere near Bergen in the end. Yeah. Yeah, just deciding here exactly where to plonk, and I end up getting a fairly close score in the end, let's see, yeah, I end up getting only 73 kilometers off, so super happy about that one. So I move on to Europe. I've got 23 odd K in the bag with a super good start on a diverse world, so yeah, doing well so far. Now this is Denmark, typical Danish signs and stuff, but I found these wooden houses very confusing. In Denmark you tend to see a lot more kind of brick houses. This kind of wooden style I associate more with kind of Sweden and Norway, so I thought this might be like a weird northern part of Denmark. So I end up guessing in the north. That ends up being wrong. it ends up being just close to Unsa, but yeah, not terrible either. So this kind of bus stop reminds me of Czechia or Slovakia. And we've got some bollards. They look like they could be Czech, but I can't see them too well. I wasn't totally sure on Czech and Slovakia. I can't read the language well enough, but that bus stop really reminds me of those two countries. And it's not too hilly, so I think it probably can't be central or eastern Slovakia. So I end up hedging eastern Czechia, and that ends up being an okay plonk. But it is just across the border in Slovakia, but 4.1k is alright for a score. Now this should be Ireland, and yeah, I look around, Irish looking signs in the distance, and it's a very urban area, so it's probably quite a big city in Ireland. I was thinking about Dublin, I was thinking about Cork, and in the end I thought it felt like it could be Southern Ireland, and I end up hedging in Waterford, I believe, kind of a middle hedge between Cork and Dublin. I thought it could be a smaller town as well, but it ends up being closer to Dublin, so southern vibes weren't quite correct there. And this round is kind of a typical UK round. Typical UK houses, but not any kind of features to tell me where in the UK this could be. Feels like England, probably southern England or the Midlands. Doesn't feel that northern, so I hedge in Northampton as a safe guess. It ends up being further east. On to round 5. This should be Greece. We've got a Greek-looking plate. The faded double white lines are very Greek as well. The rocky hills as well. The kind of triangular terracotta roofs. Yeah, so probably very mainland Greece vibes here. So I guess in the mainland somewhere. With the Balkan-looking houses, probably more northern Greece. They remind me a bit of Bulgaria and Macedonia, but yeah, I end up guessing in the north. And it takes a little while to load, and it's even further north than I guessed, so got 20.3k in the bag, which is okay, so I decide to move on to Asia. So I start an Asia round, and here we have Turkey. We've got this very barren looking landscape, which is typical in parts of Turkey. Now, I didn't quite get the region correct here. I was thinking about eastern Turkey, because we've got a lot of very barren, very treeless areas in eastern Turkey. So I was thinking about going quite far east. So yeah, I ended up guessing quite close to Erzurum here. And it ends up being further west, I believe. Yeah, a lot further west than I expected, which did surprise me. I decide 2.7k isn't that great, so I decide to reset, because you are allowed to reset as many times as you wish. So I start again, and this should be Thailand. It's fairly generic Thailand with the pole, with the red soil, Thai-looking houses, a hill in the background. But yeah, not too sure where. It feels very, very generic to me, so I guess somewhere in the middle here. And I end up getting a good score, I think. Yeah, 4.6k in the bag, so really happy about that. I move on to round 2. Now this is Japan. We've got this very low camera, wide road, and this kind of Japanese wall. And looking at the vegetation here, it feels quite green, but not too tropical, so I'm thinking just somewhere in the middle. Doesn't feel like super north like Hokkaido or anything like that, so I guess like a safe hedge around Tokyo, I think, here. And yeah, I plonk in Gunma there, and it ends up being a little further north, but 4.5k I'm happy with, so on to round 3. Got a concrete road. We've got white lines in the middle, so that rules out Thailand. We've also got Latin script, so this should be the Philippines. Now it's quite flat, but we do have a lot of palms, so I'm thinking because of the palms, this could be fairly southern Thailand. So I hedge a little bit south of a typical Panay hedge, on Cebu Island, I believe, because it looks like it might be flat there, and it ends up being further north. But happy enough with that. Now this is round 4. This should be Israel with that yellow plate, confirms it. And it's very, very dry. This very, very dry landscape makes me think we're somewhere south of Tel Aviv. Doesn't feel quite like Eilat in the deep south, but it feels like it could be around Beersheba. Beersheba is very dry and sandy, even by Israeli standards, so I guess around there. And it ends up being right next to the city of Beersheba even, so yeah, good score. Now this is round 5. This is definitely Malaysia with the plates. The number plates look very Malaysian. I do want to be very careful because I've got 18k in the bag, which is a very good score for Asia on 4 rounds. So I really want to get a good score here. This is very crucial because I've decided I don't really want to replay this map. So I spend more time on this round thinking about it. And I think with the kind of polls, I can't see any Peninsular Malaysian stickers on the poles, like the typical black stickers. So I'm thinking Borneo here. But I'm also not totally sure. I consider that it could be Peninsular Malaysia. My thinking was that this is too flat to be Sabah in the far east, but so I do end up guessing in Sarawak somewhere. Yeah, in Sarikei. It does end up being Sabah. I thought this was a good hedge as well in case it ends up being Peninsular Malaysia. But it does end up being Sabah, which surprised me a little bit. But I do get 20.8k. I was kind of hoping for a slightly better score on that final Malaysian round, but 20.8k is still decent, so I move on to North America. Now, this should be Canada because we've got this single yellow line, and the trees feel quite kind of pine trees, quite cold kind of landscape. Now, I'm thinking about which part of Canada, definitely eastern Canada. And I think this is New Brunswick. Typical kind of New Brunswick kind of landscape. I considered it could be Ontario as well. But I do guess New Brunswick in the end. And that pays off, I think. Oh, it ends up being Newfoundland actually, so I was a little bit off there. So I do replay North America because my score wasn't that great. Do want to try and get a good score in here, especially on the first round. It's important to get a decent score. So this is Mexico. We've got Gen 2 camera and Spanish. So with North America, it can only be Mexico here. And I'm looking around to see if I can find any good clues, looking for some language. But I don't find anything useful in the end. We've got this kind of mountainous, very green landscape. I'm feeling like this could be around Mexico City. So I guess I look around Mexico City, I find a kind of mountainous, green-looking road near Mexico City and guess there. That ends up being wrong. It ends up being quite far away in the north of Mexico, which does surprise me because the north tends to be a lot drier. So I do decide to replay that again. So here I go. And so we start again fresh with round 1. Now this feels like Pacific Northwest with these kind of trees that look very northwestern, and I'm thinking about Washington, Oregon and Northern California, so looking around a bit more, deciding exactly where to plonk. Yeah, I'm thinking about those 3 areas. In the end I decide that the trees feel like it could be more Washington, but wasn't totally sure, and I end up guessing in Washington. But it does end up being further south in California, so 2.2 isn't great there. Now this is another kind of northwestern USA round, and I'm thinking like Montana, Idaho, and looking around typical northwestern landscape, but a bit more inland than Washington this time. So I end up guessing Montana here, yeah. And it ends up being Wyoming, and 2.3k isn't great, so I decide to reset that. 2k twice in a row isn't a great start to North America, so refresh. And I start fresh round 1. Now, this feels like Midwest, kind of typical agricultural, lots of cornfields, got some wind turbines, so I'm thinking think Illinois, Indiana, that kind of region. Can't remember. I can't remember exactly where I guess. We have some white plates. I think I was looking around for some front plates, but we can't see the front of any cars, because that might help me a little bit. Yeah, I end up guessing Ohio here, and it ends up being Wisconsin, so a bit more north than I thought. There are a few pine trees in that round, so I probably should have taken that into account. Now we've got Arrête on this sign, so this has to be Quebec. And it feels quite green, quite urban, so I'm thinking around Montreal, Quebec area in a town somewhere. End up getting 4.4k, so happy with that. Went through that quite quickly. This is Mexico. We've got typical Mexican signs here, and to the south I do have a road number here. Yeah, we've got the 85, so that is pointing south to Mexico, so I look for the 85. We've got Ciudad Valles, which I do recognise the name, but I couldn't remember exactly where it was. So first I'm looking for the 85, and I find it fairly quickly. And now I'm looking along the 85 to look for the Ciudad Valles. So I scan and I quickly find it. It's actually a fairly sizable city. And now I'm just looking at the road orientation, trying to find a kind of straight road that might fit, but I don't want to spend too long on pinpointing, so I guess fairly quickly. And I get decent enough, only 12k off. It's worth guessing quickly to spend more time on the next rounds. So this is round 4. This should be Mexico again Latin American feel, but this is a North American map, so it can't be Ecuador or anything like that. Very dry, so probably north of Mexico City somewhere, but I wasn't really sure where to guess here. Yeah, I think I plonk this somewhere random, but really wasn't sure where to go. So yeah, I plonked just north of Mexico City. Ends up being 599 kilometers off, so not great. But I do carry on here, and we do have British Columbia, I think, here. And yeah, we've got this very dry hill, and this very dry landscape you only really see around the southern part of British Columbia. Very similar kind of landscape to Montana or something. You don't get this dry part of Canada very often. So I think this is around Kamloops or Kelowna somewhere, and I plonk somewhere around there. And it ends up being closer to Kelowna, and I get a 19.2k, which I'm happy enough to carry on to South America. So yeah, this ends up being Uruguay. We've got the double yellow with the white dashes. That feature you only see in Uruguay. I do miss that. I end up guessing Argentina for some reason. That was a blunder on my end, because Argentina only has a single yellow line with white dashes, but for some reason I guess Argentina. And yeah, I do get that wrong. Yeah, just deciding where to guess, but it is Uruguay and I only get 2.4k, so I decide to reset South America and play once again. So yeah, here we have very orange soil. I think this is Brazil. Yeah, this is very Brazilian looking. Also very lush, very tropical. At first I thought this might be southern Brazil because it kind of reminded me of the Argentinian panhandle, but then I decided it looks a lot more tropical, a lot more lush, so I decided to guess further north. And I don't know why I guess in the middle, because there's a lot of kind of farmland there, but 1k is a rubbish score, so I decide to reset and play again. So I play again, no move. Now, this should be Peru. We've got the black car. We've got very Amazonian looking houses with this kind of wooden houses you see a lot in the Amazon region. And it has to be Peru because we've got the tuk-tuks. Tuk-tuks you mostly see in Peru. Now, it doesn't really feel like Iquitos. there's not too many other areas covered in the Amazon part of Peru, so I decided this could be Pucallpa. End up thinking it's too rural to be that town itself. It does end up being Pucallpa, but super chuffed to get close there anyway. And on to round two. Now this is Argentina. We've got the black car. It feels fairly dry, a little bit hilly. So I'm thinking kind of northwestern Argentina here. Looking around, this reminds me a lot of kind of Washington or Oregon actually, or California. But yeah, this is Argentina. And I decide could it be northwest Argentina, but then I decide could it be closer to southern Chile because southern Chile is very green and this round is kind of green. So I wasn't quite sure. I want to do a bit of a hedge here. So yeah, I end up guessing there. It ends up being a lot more inland Argentina, which surprised me because inland Argentina is usually more flat. So I move on to round three. 7.7k is okay to justify moving on here. And yeah, this is Brazil. We've got some palms, we've got some hills. Not sure exactly where in Brazil this is, but because of all the palm trees, I think probably not too far south. So I guess somewhere in the middle here, I think. Feels kind of coastal as well with the hills. You see a lot more hills towards the coast of Brazil. Yeah, it ends up being further south, so that was a miss. And this is Brazil again. We've got the typical Brazilian orange soil. And very lush, very kind of tropical looking, so I think this is probably quite far north. So yeah, I do guess in the north somewhere. Just deciding where to guess, I think. Having a little look around. And I guess in the north of Tocantins. And it ends up being pretty close, but still under 3k, so not an amazing score. And we move on to round 5, which yet again, this is a Brazilian round. And yeah, I've got Brazilian in black back of the sign there. And feels fairly generic. We've got a Brazilian pole, we've got some hills, reddish soil. And yeah, this feels kind of very, very typical Brazilian round, really. I guess somewhere in the middle. Kind of a conservative hedge, yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, and it ends up being a lot further north, so I only get 14.2k in total. So I've got a 23k, 20k, 20k, 19k, and South America is only 14.2k, so I do decide to replay that again. I do struggle a lot with South America. So I replay. Now, this round should be Colombia. We've got a Colombian cross and a painted pole there. So they are good signs for Colombia. And also the single yellow line. So looking around, we don't have many mountains, so it's probably not in the middle of Colombia. I'm thinking this could be northern Colombia somewhere. Yeah, having a look around, having a think about this, and yeah, I end up guessing in the north somewhere. Yeah, we've got the cross there on that sign. And yeah, I end up guessing somewhere Cintaleo, I think, yeah. But, oh yeah, it ends up being the other side of Colombia, so not great. That area of Colombia is also flat on the kind of southeast. So I restart because my score is a bit rubbish. I want to get a good score in here. Right, and this is Brazil again. The kind of it's very agricultural. The agricultural region of Brazil we often get in kind of central western Brazil, around Goiás, Mato Grosso do Sul. So I guess somewhere around there, because of all the agriculture, and it ends up being closer to Brasilia city. 2.5k, not amazing, but I carry on. Round two should be Argentina. Yeah, we've got this kind of typical Argentinian winter coverage. Not too sure exactly where to guess. Guess in Santiago. And it ends up being further south, so I have 5.2k and I decide that's not great, so I decide to restart South America. So play again. No move. Running low on time by this point, I think, but I do have only one map that I'm not happy with the score, so I focus a lot on uh, improving this. But this is Chile. We've got Chilean looking houses, double white line, and it's very green, so it's probably fairly southern Chile around Puerto Montt. It looks a lot like this. I look at this sign to try and see if I recognize any place names or something, but I don't think I find anything useful, so I just plonk based on the landscape here, and it ends up being a little further south, but I get 3.9k, which is fairly decent, so I carry on. Round 2. Now, what is this? This has Colombian cross on the back of those signs, so it should be Colombia. So the single yellow line. So yeah, I'm thinking northern Colombia. A lot of those trees look very northern Colombian. I should have guessed even further north, really, but round 3. So this should be Argentina. We've got a very barren, dry landscape, which is typical in southern half of Argentina. Because of the mountains, I'm thinking this is probably further west, closer to the Chilean border. So I spend a lot of time, I have a lot of time to think about this, because this is, I've still got a few minutes left, so I decide how far north should I guess. Yeah, I end up guessing too far south here, I think, in the end, because it does look very, very barren and dry. But it does end up being further north, but still 3k isn't too bad. Now this is Chile. We've got this very urban kind of highway, which you don't see too much in South America. But I think this is a highway that runs from Santiago south around Temuco area. It's very green, so it's probably around Temuco, which is kind of south central Chile, but not. It doesn't feel cold enough to be like super south in the mountains or anything like that. So I guess somewhere along this road near Temuco, I think. It has to be near some of these cities, I think. And yeah, I make a guess, hoping for a good score. It ends up being slightly further north. But I've got 14k in the bag, so if I get a good score here, then I could be alright. So this is Brazil. We've got the Brazilian satellite dish. This feels fairly arid, so I'm thinking this could be northeast Brazil. But this round is crucial. I have a few minutes left, so I do spend quite a bit of time thinking about this. This is the last round that I submit. Yeah, so I'm just thinking a lot. Should I go super northeast, or should I hedge a bit towards central Brazil? Wasn't too sure. There are some hills around, so I'm thinking it might be more central with those hills. Yeah. Yeah, taking my time because I have plenty of time to submit my score. And I end up guessing, and what score do I get? Yeah, so I get 2.5k in the end, so 17.3k. Which isn't great, but it will do. I only have 2 minutes left. I don't want to reset any rounds at this point because I've got some decent scores in the bag, so I end up submitting these scores to Simi, and that concludes the tournament. So yeah, this is the total scores of the tournament. I came in third place in the end with 101,340. So yeah, I think I did pretty well. Radusi Simi geography challenges are top tier players, very, very highly skilled players. So coming in third, I'm super happy with, and only 5,000k between me and the top score. So yeah, definitely struggled a lot with South America. Only got 17.3k in the end, so I think I spent over half of my time just trying to improve North and South America. I probably could have got better scores in Europe and Asia, but I decided to just focus my time on the maps that I'm weaker at. I am generally not as well versed in the Americas as I am in, say, Europe or Asia. Europe and Asia definitely are my stronger stronger areas of the world in Geoguessr. I think Radosi is super good at South America. But yeah, GG's to Radosi, Simi, and Geography Challenges. I had so much fun playing. Thank you so much to SunkenCity for organising the tournament, and yeah, it was a very, very interesting tournament to play. There's definitely some interesting skills involved. Just knowing what justifies a good enough score to move on a particular map. So like, is 18,000k a decent score? It's very, very crucial to know what is a good score for you personally. So definitely a gamble, definitely a risk, because if you reset a map, you do run the risk of potentially getting a even worse score. But luckily that didn't happen to me in any of the rounds. Struggled a lot on South America, but yeah, that's how it goes. So GG's to Radusi, Simi, and Geography Challenges. I had so much fun playing, and thank you so much to SunkenCity for organising this. It's a super cool tournament. And also thank you to Simiroj. I know that Simiroj helped out a lot with organising this as well. So yeah, thank you guys. It was so much fun, and I will link the YouTubes of the three competitors in the description, and I will also link the Twitch for SunkenCity. He is a super cool, super fun streamer. Very funny, very down to earth. So definitely check him out if you don't know him already. You'll have a laugh. You'll have a lot of fun. He's one of the best Geoguessr streamers out there. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something from it. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye bye.